You all know I'm from Vancouver, so I'm not exactly winter-proof. I do appreciate you warming things up a bit. I heard the last couple of days it was so cold, even Mr. PG was using what we call at our house rough language. It's a really exciting day to be here in Prince George. I'm so glad that the fine people at WestJet could get me here because we're doing a lot of important work with the resources sector right now in British Columbia. The innovation, the leading edge work that is happening in British Columbia is putting us in an excellent position to really take advantage of the global shifts that are taking place around reducing carbon. I've told people many times, and today is yet another demonstration, that resource workers in our province are on the front lines of fighting climate change with the clean products we produce, everything from the cleanest aluminum to natural gas to now today pulp and paper, part of our announcement today. Thank you for your leadership on this file, all of you. It's amazing what you do. Today's announcement is about hydrogen, and it's such an exciting sector for us as a province, and particularly for the city of Prince George. We are a leader in the hydrogen sector already. We have the amazing legacy of a company called Ballard in the Lower Mainland around the technology needed around hydrogen fuel cells and hydrogen management. 50% of Canada's hydrogen and fuel cell companies and 60% of research investment is right here in British Columbia. This puts us in an incredibly good position for what is a rapidly growing global market for hydrogen, estimated to be $87 billion by 2030, which is just around the corner, and $305 billion by 2050. And you have seen that right here in Prince George with companies visiting from around the world to court Prince George for hydrogen export. And we're partners in helping to realize some of that potential. We have 19 proposals for hydrogen export across the province right now. The reason for that is hydrogen is one of our best bets to decarbonize hard-to-decarbonize sectors where we're using natural gas or fossil fuels. Hydrogen enables companies in Asia potentially to decarbonize their steelmaking operations, which is one of the major interests for export here in British Columbia. Hydrogen presenting the opportunity to decarbonize part of the operations right here at Canfor. We put in place the framework to be able to benefit from this. A new office to ensure that regulatory processes and permits don't hold up these necessary projects, a new clean energy and major projects office. We changed the greenhouse gas reduction regulation to enable hydrogen to be used, and from what we can tell, it seems like Terralta and partners here saw the opportunity and didn't waste a moment to jump on it. The announcement today about this very exciting project here is that Chemtrade has identified an opportunity in their production of sodium chlorate to take waste hydrogen and turn it in partnership with Terralta to turn it into a low-carbon fuel source for Canfor's pulp and paper mill across the street to displace natural gas. This project will reduce 25% of the natural gas used by the pulp mill, reducing carbon emissions, and creating an opportunity out of a waste product that was previously just being vented. So I really want to recognize Terralta, Chemtrade, and Canfor for working together in partnership on this, and of course FortisBC for being part of this as well. Clean hydrogen opens a world of opportunities for our province that we're not taking advantage of yet and are right there for us. It may be the first project of its kind, but it certainly won't be the last. In addition to the 19 export projects, there are 50 separate hydrogen proposals across our province for domestic and international use. This is a good business investment. It's going to grow our economy, and you're leading the way right here in Prince George. It's very inspirational to see. Thanks for inviting me to be a part of it, and congratulations to everyone who was involved.
Thank you, Premier. So now it's my pleasure to introduce the CEO of the company, Terralta. I'm sure I'm going to hear a lot about this name in later. And the CEO, Simon Pickup. Today is a Simon introduce Simon. Wow. What a... Well,
thank you, Mayor Yu. Good afternoon. Honored to have this opportunity to talk about the role that Teralta plays in this project. That while the first of its kind now is one that I hope is replicated throughout British Columbia and across Canada. First, a little bit about myself. Since I was a boy, I have been focused on my place on the planet and what I can contribute to try and make it better. I'm the child of parents who fled to Canada and ultimately to British Columbia from the Philippines. And in both countries, my parents operated machine shops. They collected what they influence and tools, imagination, and made me think and at times obsess about how for the better. As a child, I was fascinated by the possibility that hydrogen could be used as a clean energy source. In me dropping out of school to start my needed to start real company achieving the dream of making hydrogen is a direct line from my curiosity to the creation of Teralta and ultimately to our possible without our incredible partners here in Prince George, and it's wonderful to see so many of them here in the flesh. It involves capturing byproduct hydrogen from chemtrade, sodium chlorate plant, which is being vented, and piping it to Canfor's pulp and paper mill, which when complete will help power the mill's boiler system. This will reduce up to 25% of the natural gas currently being used in that system and reduce CO2 emissions by over 700,000 tons over the life of the project. This project would also not be possible without our partnership with the BC government, and I'm proud to stand with Premier Eby and Minister Osborne, Minister Heyman, here today. We wouldn't be here without a regulatory amendment in 2021 that incentivized the production of both green and byproduct hydrogen. And that amendment was something that we had asked the government for help with when it consulted on how to best grow our sector to make it a leader. Because of that incentive, we will be able to provide clean hydrogen to Canfor to help reduce their emissions, reduce operating costs, and showcase a new model for making hydrogen actually viable for industrial users. It's a great day for Teralta. It's a great day for our partners. Ultimately, it's a great day for BC, Canada, and the environment. Thank you very much.
And again, thank you, Minister Heyman and Mr. Osborne, being here with us to do this great announcement. Now, I would like to invite Minister Osborne to give us a remark to this event. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor, for the introduction, and Premier, for your words, and Simon, for your story. What an inspiring story to hear about your fascination and curiosity as a child and seeing it expressed in what we're here to celebrate today. And I want to as well begin by expressing my appreciation for being here on the lands of the Lheidli First Nation. I, too, share the excitement in this very innovative hydrogen project by Teralta that, as we have heard, just simply wouldn't be possible without the kind of collaboration between industry and government, and also this strong desire that people have to provide clean energy and to reduce climate pollution. These are announcements that are another milestone on the path to Prince George being a province-leading hydrogen hub that will and is attract investment and create new jobs and opportunities for people in the clean economy. In fact, British Columbia was the first province in Canada to release a comprehensive hydrogen strategy. And as the Premier noted, we're already home to so many hydrogen innovation companies, including more than half of Canada's hydrogen and fuel cell companies. These are the leading innovators that are developing new technologies around for the world, and that the world needs to produce and build a low-carbon economy and meet the climate goals that we all share. The hydrogen projects that are proposed across BC range from large-scale production facilities to hydrogen refueling stations to heavy-duty trucking pilots But TerraAlta's plan and the innovative business processes and partnerships that they've managed to bring together here are truly inspiring in turning that waste hydrogen product into a fuel, a clean fuel that will displace fossil fuels here on site nearby at Canforest Pulp Mill. It is a truly remarkable solution and a common sense solution to a long-term problem. This is a project that wouldn't have been possible, again, without the strong collaboration and partnerships. And when Premier Eby and Minister Heyman and I earlier this year announced the province's new energy action framework, we did announce the creation of the Clean Energy and Major Projects Office. This office's mission is to fast-track investment in clean energy projects, to create good, sustainable jobs in the new clean economy. And it's up and running and supporting projects just like this one. This one-stop shop is the place for people to go in government who are looking to advance major clean energy projects. We'll be helping them to access federal and provincial funding, to navigate regulatory processes, and move forward to final investment. It really is only by working together with industry, with municipalities, with First Nations that we can create opportunities for people and build this better, cleaner future for British Columbia. So I wish everybody the best of luck as we move forward in seeing this project. I can't wait to see the success and all that it entails for the benefit of all of British Columbia. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Minister Osborne. Now is last but not least, I would like to welcome my dear friend, VP of Forest BC, Doug Slater. He also happened to be in charge of Indigenous Affairs as well as regulatory affairs. Thank you very much, and here's yours.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor Yu, for that introduction, and I'd also like to thank Chief Logan for the kind welcome to the traditional territory of the Clay Tene Nation. As BC's largest energy provider, delivering both gas and electricity, FortisBC has a critical role to play in shaping low-carbon, renewable energy future. One of the ways we're achieving this is by growing our supply of renewable and low-carbon gases, such as renewable natural gas and hydrogen. And this would not be possible without the support of the province. So I would like to take a moment to thank the province for its leadership in laying the groundwork for hydrogen services as part of the clean energy future, and I encourage further policy support to enable more great projects just like this one. It's through innovative projects like this that the provincial government is demonstrating that they understand the role that low-carbon hydrogen can play, particularly in sectors that are hard to decarbonize. Bringing hydrogen online will provide British Columbians with energy options that can lower greenhouse gas emissions, can support our province's clean energy future, and meet the growing demand for energy. We believe TerraAlta's project represents a critical step towards understanding the potential for hydrogen for our customers and how it might be delivered through our gas system. By doing so, this helps us leverage infrastructure that's already in place and has proven to be safe and reliable, and it provides industry, homes, and businesses with another option for low-carbon energy. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. And this concludes the formal announcement and of this project. And we are looking forward to the actual construction and the production of the goods. And we have a few minutes of Q&A, I believe. And welcome the media, maybe limit to question 1.
Reporters on the line, please press *1 to enter the queue. Please unmute yourself and go off speakerphone when called on so that we can hear you properly here in the room. Reporters are limited to 1 question and 1 follow-up. We're going to start with reporters here in the room, starting with Fran Yanner, Northern Beat.
Hi, Premier.
Hey, Fran.
I'm just wondering if this process uses electricity from the grid, also being as that is sort of an overarching issue in terms of generation production and to meet the climate goals.
Sure, Fran. I'll take the high level and then I'll pass it over to Simon on the electricity that might be required. High level in our province, there are huge economic opportunities available to us if we can expand our electrical grid. and in particular our generation and transmission capacity. For example, we're right here in Prince George, where the head of global mining company Fortescue flew here in his private jet to meet with the mayor and the chief to talk about 1 gigawatt electrical project, a massive green hydrogen export facility, worth $3 billion in investment to the community of Prince George and a significant number of jobs. That is just one example of the kinds of opportunities we're seeing. A company called POSCO from Korea, another green hydrogen facility that they're planning in British Columbia, a significant electrical user as well. We also have existing industry, mining, forestry, others that want to get off of fossil fuels and use clean electricity so we can meet our climate goals and our commitments to our kids for a better world. For all of these reasons, we put together a task force at BC Hydro to accelerate their generation capacity. Drought definitely is an issue for BC Hydro around hydroelectrical generation. But you can see through careful management that BC Hydro weathered this very cold period and was able to support our neighbors in Alberta and in Washington State when their systems were in trouble. They helped us during the forest fire season. We're so grateful for that. Glad to help them during the cold weather. And for the long term for our hydro grid stability and for the economic opportunities that are there, you're going to hear more from us about expanding those resources. For this specific project, I'll turn it over to Simon.
Yes, short answer is that the electrolyzers that power the production of hydrogen run on BC grid electricity. Yeah, for this project.
Since you mentioned Fortescue,
Yes, sure.
just wondering if there's any update in terms of there was some talk in Victoria about either them generating their own or contributing to hydro, $1 billion. Do you have an update on that situation? Or?
Yeah, we're currently in discussions with Fortescue, specifically Fortescue and BC Hydro. They're looking for 1,000 megawatts of power. It's a very significant draw. It's, for perspective, it's about equivalent to Site C, to give you an idea about the amount of power that they're looking for. So working with BC Hydro, they put forward their formal project proposal to BC Hydro. They're engaged in those negotiations. The reference to $1 billion is in reference to the approach of the previous government. There was a proposal for a green aluminum facility in Port Alberni about 15 years ago. And the government at the time told that company that unless they put forward $1 billion to support the necessary grid and generation capacity to support that plant, it wouldn't be able to go ahead. And of course, the plant never did go ahead, and Port Alberni lost a very significant opportunity. We want to take a different route here. We're working with the company. We're working with BC Hydro because we think that not just this plant, but a number of other proposals across the province have huge potential. But the amount of power that they need is so significant, we need a different approach. So we're working with them to find a way forward.
We'll go next to Darren Bain, Vista Radio.
Hi, Premier. Thanks for taking my questions. Just how many jobs is this going to create through construction and then permanent full-time jobs once it is completed?
Just looking over to the side to see who might have that. Okay, Simon, come on up.
There's going to be a few full-time jobs that are going to be created here on site, but there'll be a number, dozens of construction jobs related to the actual development of the site. Yeah.
And then, Premier, you mentioned some proposals. Can you give us any details on what might be coming to Prince George to make us a hydrogen hub?
Sure. I mean, the mayor here might be able to give an overview of some of the important work that he's been doing with various companies, but the project specifically that I was thinking about is the Fortescue proposal. It is a transformative proposal in terms of the scale, as well as potentially being one of Canada's first major export facilities. There's one project in Newfoundland that has received approval from their provincial government, but otherwise this would be the second major project in Canada.
Going to the phone now, and our next question is from Richard Zussman, Global News.
I know our friends in Prince George will laugh when we talk about the weather here in Victoria and Vancouver, but as you are acutely aware, there is a big storm coming that could cause some significant challenges in Vancouver and Victoria in terms of snow. Many parents will have to wait until tomorrow morning to find out if school is canceled. Is the province considering looking at some sort of standardized approach using forecast to give parents a little more updates in time about whether school is canceled potentially the next day so that they don't have to scramble to find childcare?
Thanks, Richard, for the question, and thank you everyone in Prince George for not laughing. Appreciate that. The number one concern of principals, of school boards, when they're making the decision about whether or not to close a school is the safety of kids. Are they going to be able to get to school safely when they're there? Will they be able to get home safely? And so we have a lot of confidence in those decisions being made at the local level. I can tell you with some confidence that, and some experience today, that the conditions in Prince George, where school just operates as normal, may be sufficient to shut down the entire lower mainland. So having those decisions made given local realities and the preparedness of the local community for a particular weather event is a really important thing. We're always glad to look at ways to give parents more notice. There's nothing more chaos-inducing than even just a professional development day, which is well scheduled and our family gets told about well in advance, and we're like, oh my God, it's tomorrow. So a snow day that comes out of nowhere can be a real unpleasant surprise for parents who have to find a way to find some care for their kids when the school is closed. I understand the need for predictability that parents have, and anything we can do to improve that, we will. But it's so important, given the diversity of this province, that those decisions be made at the local level.
Do you have a follow-up?
Would you like to see a standard where districts provide the information to parents the day before, considering how good forecasts have become? Or are you comfortable with the fact that a district may not inform a family until 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning when school opens an hour and a half later? And what possibly, should a parent do if they can't find a place for their kid to go with such short notice?
Yeah, I think any time school's not available, and we certainly saw this through the COVID period, it's very stressful for families, it's stressful for kids. Our preference is always that schools are open and available for parents and kids, as long as it's safe. And that's the bottom line, and we do rely on administrators to provide as much notice as possible, understanding the disruption, but also balance that with the goal of trying to keep schools open. It's very hard to issue decrees from Victoria about how that should be handled on a site-by-site basis. We do really rely on the judgment calls of those administrators to balance those important values.
Our next question is from Katie DeRosa, Vancouver Sun.
Hi, Premier. Federal Immigration Minister Mark Miller said this week he is considering a cap on the number of international students. If there was, if BC is contributing to this conversation with the federal government, what would you like to see? What kind of cap would you like to see, or how should this take place?
Well, I think, when we're looking at the issue of international students in British Columbia, there are a number of significant benefits that we see from international students being here. The experience that domestic students have going to school with people from around the world, the connections that they might make, the connections that we make for business, and the relationships when people either stay here or return home that benefit British Columbia as an open, trade-based economy, really significant pieces. The growth, though, that we've seen in the temporary resident category of international students and temporary workers is massive, and there is no question that it has impact on British Columbia. We've seen it on Ontario in terms of the availability of services and housing, and as well our ability, frankly, to provide protection and support for these students from those who would take advantage of them. We have had examples of international brokers that promise students certain things that when they arrive here are not delivered, and students are exploited on arrival for cheap labor instead of the reason that we would want them to come here, which is a good international education. So the Minister of Post-Secondary and Future Skills is working with her team right now in terms of ensuring that we're able to meet those expectations that everybody has in terms of the experience the international students have here. My message for Minister Miller would be to work with the province on this. There are all kinds of reasons why international students being here in BC is a really positive thing, and a blunt instrument like a federally dictated cap could have profound and negative impacts. Working together, though, we can get the best of both worlds, ensuring that BC remains an open and welcoming place, and we build those relationships around the world, and students are treated well while they're here, and when they return home, they have good things to say about British Columbia.
Katie, do you have a follow-up?
Since you were asked about this last week, about the Surrey Police, the City of Surrey's dispute with the Surrey Police Service over the hiring of 10 new officers, Mayor Brenda Locke said today that the officers were not approved or budgeted for, and she said that the police service has spent $26 million over budget, and that they're free spending with taxpayer dollars. So this is one of her examples of why they're not paying for those officers. You said last week you would ensure those officers are paid. So what's the next step, seeing that the mayor is not backing down on this?
Well, it's hard to think of something more frustrating than to have a group of young recruits to be police officers in Surrey, something that every city in the province would be glad to have additional police officers coming on, doing that training, having the mayor pay consultants, high-priced consultants, having her pay advertising firms for leaflets and advertisements, having her pay lawyers to bring a court challenge against the province, but not paying the police. I cannot see any justification for it. There is $90 million that the province sent to Surrey to improve the community, recreation centres, parks. That money sits in a bank account. There is $50 million that is waiting for the City of Surrey for any additional expenses that they have that they're facing in relation to the policing transition that, by the way, the mayor voted for and put us in this position. This is the time for us to come together, move forward, accept that the Surrey Police Service is here to stay, and to find a path forward. The longer it takes, the more expensive it is. There is no shortage of resources to get this done properly, and we will absolutely ensure that there's financial accountability to the people of Surrey, a fully costed budget for the police service that they can rely on, that will be independently audited, and we will make sure that that information is shared. But the bottom line is the safety of the people of Surrey cannot be compromised for politics. The police need to get paid. And of all communities, I cannot imagine that the mayor of Surrey does not understand that.
Our next question is from Rob Shaw, Czech News.
Hey, Premier. You're speaking to the natural resource community for the second time as Premier tonight. What do you intend to tell the forestry sector, which has had another difficult year since you spoke to them? And this time last year, you went to Crofton, offered that paper mill provincial aid to save 100 jobs as an example of what your government was going to do on forestry. It's a year later, those jobs are curtailed, the employees are angry, the mill hasn't upgraded its line, and the mayor is asking you for more money. So what was the point of that, and how are you actually helping save jobs here?
Yeah, thanks, Rob. The forest industry is under significant pressure in British Columbia. It's a real time of transition. The beetle kill wood is over. We've had huge impacts from fire on timber supply. There's a new and reasonable expectation that British Columbians have about management of our old growth forests. And we're also moving to long-term landscape planning so that there's certainty for industry. We need to get more jobs per log out of the province, and we're in that transition right now. For Crofton specifically, the reason why we went to that mill, the reason why we worked with Paper Excellence to try to find a way to support them to develop new product lines is because they're under huge pressure from low-cost, low-standard mills in the global south that are competing with them for their existing product lines. They knew that this trouble was coming, and we were there to support them with money for the equipment for new product lines that are in demand in British Columbia. Now, we still have hope that they're going to be able to use that money to buy that equipment to keep those lines going. They have not said that they're not doing that. It's taken way longer than definitely we wanted and frankly than we expected from Paper Excellence, but we do understand the strains that they're under. We went there to save those jobs, and that is the approach that we will continue to take. In fact, this week I appointed Andrew Mercier, Minister of State for Sustainable Forest Innovation, and his job is pretty straightforward. There are an array of tools that we have. We have the Manufacturing Jobs Fund. We have the Forest Improvement Society. Help me out here. Forest Enhancement Society. There it is. Thank you. The Forest Enhancement Society grants. We have partnerships with First Nations to go out with those tools for forest companies that are struggling with timber supply specifically to make sure they have the wood they need to keep the jobs in place. We're taking this very seriously, dedicating an entire cabinet minister to doing that site-by-site work to make sure that we're delivering that as we do the longer-term work that will ensure certainty in the industry. Forestry is the future of British Columbia. It is a low-carbon sector. It is an important building material. Our products are second to none. I stand at the Canfor mill here, whose paper products are known around the world, and rightly so, and we're going to continue to support these jobs.
Rob, do you have a follow-up?
The CEBA small business loan deadline from Ottawa is Thursday. I know you have in the past called on them to do something about extending.
Is that us or was that Rob? Okay. I know, Rob, we lost you there. But I...
oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Got you, but then it dropped off.
Okay. The CEBA small business loan deadline is Thursday. What do you want to see Ottawa do about that?
Well, the letter that I wrote to the Prime Minister about these loans, and just for context, obviously during COVID, a lot of businesses were under strain, and that was everything from fitness studios to restaurants, others that depended on the public being able to access them, took a major impact. In British Columbia, we did grants to business to keep those businesses going. The federal government decided to do loans. Those loans are coming due, and those loans, unfortunately for many sectors that are still finding their feet, the hospitality sector, the restaurant industry, the fitness sector, these loans are loans that they can't pay back. So as the deadline shows up, my letter to the Prime Minister was, please find a way to support those businesses, to keep their doors open, keep people employed, and come to a way to deal with these loans that is constructive, that isn't going to act as a drag on the economy. We haven't seen that action yet from the federal government. I certainly have seen calls from the various business associations, restaurant associations, and others to say, please extend these loans. I really hope the federal government does do that because there will be a significant number of businesses impacted in British Columbia if they don't.
We have time for one more question. We'll go next to Wolf Deppner, Black Press.
Yes, hi. Thank you for taking my question. The question to the Premier. A poll came out recently, research poll that showed declining support for your government's zero-emission vehicle strategy. What's your reaction to that drop in public support for your government's zero-emission vehicle strategy?
Well, the summer that we had of record forest fires, the hottest summer on record in British Columbia, associated drought. This was the summer when I learned that forest fires can burn through the winter underneath the snow. And in fact, we know that 100 forest fires right now are still burning in British Columbia. The challenge that we face is clearly around climate change is clearly accelerating. And British Columbia has been harder hit by climate change, and certainly it appears to be the case down the west coast of the United States as well. We've seen forest fires, floods, heat domes, droughts. It has been 5 states of emergency in the 7 years we've been in government. There were 2 in the previous 16 years. We are preparing for all array of horrific impacts, including a reduced power supply because our dams don't have enough water, reduced water for agriculture, reduced aquifers. The Cowichan River was kept alive by pumps this summer. British Columbia, as the most impacted province, needs to show leadership on climate. And it's, it's one of those things where as Premier, looking at these things, I don't look at a poll and say, gosh, This particular poll says that people are, maybe they don't think electric vehicles are as good as something else. We have to show leadership on climate change. I have to be able to look my kids in the eye and say, as British Columbians, we did what we could. We led the way on clean resources. We led the way on decarbonizing sectors. This announcement today is about the important work that we're doing together. There's just no alternative. And so we're going to keep doing that work. And my hope is that British Columbians support that work.
Wolf, do you have a follow-up?
Yes, I do. Thank you. And still on the topic of energy, any number of your government's critics have pointed to a recent report that says, and I'm paraphrasing very broadly here, that BC could be facing an energy shortage in 2026. What is your response to this criticism of your government's energy policies? Again, with the criticism citing this particular report that raises some questions about BC's energy future. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, well, if that specific report was based on outdated information, but the core of the idea that we need to increase our electrical supply is one that I agree with. We've been working with BC Hydro to expedite our approval processes and their processes to make sure we're bringing that power on. I'll have more to say about the work that BC Hydro is doing in terms of their overall work. They have issued the first power call in a generation, 3,000 megawatts of renewable power for our province. I'm proud of BC Hydro's work. It was our province that supported Alberta and Washington State when their grids went down. And I'm glad that we were able to do that. But we also need to be strong in the future as well. And so we're doing the planning work that's necessary around that.
That concludes today's availability. Thanks, everyone.
Great. Thanks very much.
Thank you. This concludes the formal announcement event. And we have a tour organized.